What if there is a ritual, practiced by Jewish mystics across 5 centuries, described in precise detail in the Kabbalistic literature of Safed and later in the Chassidic courts of Eastern Europe, that is performed not in a synagogue, not on a holy day, not with special garments or elaborate preparation, but with the most ordinary object in a person's daily life, their wallet? A ritual so specific that it prescribes not only what to place inside the wallet, but how to open it, how to close it, what to say when money enters it, what to say when money leaves it, and how to treat the wallet itself, its cleanliness, its order, its physical condition, as a direct reflection of the spiritual condition of the person's relationship with abundance, not superstition, not folklore, a precisely constructed system, drawn from the Kabbalistic understanding of how physical objects carry spiritual dimensions, how the way we treat the vessels of our daily life shapes the flow of provision through them, and why the wallet, of all the objects a person carries, occupies a uniquely important position in the spiritual architecture of a household's relationship with money. Today, I am going to reveal this ritual in full. Every element, every gesture, every word, and the deep teaching behind each one, so that when you perform it, you understand not merely what you are doing, but why. And why the understanding is what makes the difference between a ritual that is merely performed and a ritual that actually works. Stay with me, because this is one of the most practical and most transformative teachings this tradition has preserved. And it belongs in your hands. We begin in the city of Safed, in the hills of northern Galilee, in the year 1573. Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, known as the Ramak, one of the greatest Kabbalistic minds of the 16th century, had spent 30 years mapping the structure of the invisible world with the precision of an architect drawing blueprints for a building he intended to actually inhabit. His masterwork, the Pardes Rimonim, the Orchard of Pomegranates, was the most comprehensive and systematic presentation of Kabbalistic thought that had ever been written. It was a work of extraordinary intellectual ambition, and it had earned Cordovero the respect of every serious student of the inner tradition in the Jewish world. But Cordovero was also, alongside his theoretical brilliance, a man of intensely practical spiritual orientation. He understood, in a way that purely theoretical Kabbalists sometimes did not, that the mystical map of the universe was useful only insofar as it could be applied to the actual lives of actual people, that the teachings about the Sephirot and the channels of divine light were not merely cosmological poetry, but a working blueprint for how human beings could align themselves with the invisible laws governing the flow of blessing through their daily existence. Among the students who sat with Cordovero in those years in Safed was a young man named Reb Yosef Katz, a silversmith by trade, a student of the inner tradition by vocation, and a man who brought to his spiritual practice the same precision and care for detail that his craft required. He was known among the Safed circle as someone who could be trusted to carry a teaching forward without distortion, to transmit not only the words, but the intention behind them. One afternoon, Cordovero called Reb Yosef to him privately. He had been observing the young man for some weeks with the attention he gave to students he considered ready for a particular kind of teaching. He had noticed something in Reb Yosef's daily life that he wanted to address. Not a failure of character, but a gap in understanding. A place where the young man's genuine piety and diligence had not yet been connected to the practical wisdom the tradition offered for exactly his situation. Reb Yosef, like many craftsmen of his era, worked hard and earned honestly. But his relationship with the money he earned was, as he himself acknowledged when Cordovero asked him about it, troubled. Not because he spent recklessly or saved inadequately, but because the money seemed to flow through his hands without ever accumulating enough to create the stability he was seeking. He worked as hard as he could, he practiced generosity within his means, he prayed sincerely, and yet something in the relationship between his effort and his provision was not working as the tradition promised it should. Cordovero listened to him carefully. Then he asked, "Show me your wallet." Reb Yosef hesitated, surprised by the request. He reached into his coat and produced his wallet, a simple leather pouch, worn from years of use, containing coins and a few small documents related to his transactions. Cordovero took it gently. He examined it for a long moment. He looked at its condition, its organization, what was inside it, how the contents were arranged. Then he handed it back. "I am going to teach you something tonight," he said, "and tomorrow morning I want you to begin a practice that I believe will change your relationship with this object, and through this object, your relationship with the provision that moves through it, because I see something in how you hold your wallet, and in what you have placed inside it, and in the condition you have allowed it to reach. That tells me something about how you understand what money actually is. And what I want to give you is a new understanding. Because a new understanding of money, practiced through the daily ritual I am about to describe, will over time produce a new reality." He then taught Reb Yosef what I am about to teach you. The wallet ritual of the Kabbalistic tradition rests on a single foundational principle that must be understood before any of the specific practices make sense. That principle is this: the wallet is not merely a container for money. It is a haKli, a vessel, and in the Kabbalistic understanding, a vessel is not passive. A vessel has a quality. A vessel can be more or less suited to receive, to hold, and to transmit what passes through it. And the quality of a vessel is determined not only by its physical condition, but by the intention, the awareness, and the spiritual orientation of the person who uses it. The Kabbalists drew this from one of the most fundamental teachings of the Lurianic tradition, that creation itself was the act of the infinite contracting to create vessels, tzimtzum, so that finite forms could receive the light of the infinite. The vessels of creation exist to receive and hold what flows from the source. When a vessel is properly formed and aligned with what it is meant to hold, it receives fully. When it is cracked or cluttered, the light, the provision, flows through it without being held. The Talmud teaches that the same rain falls on the same fields, but the quality of the soil determines what grows. The same provision flows through the lives of many people, but the quality of their vessels determines what is received, what is held, and what grows into the abundance they are seeking. And the wallet, Cordovero taught, is one of the most direct and most accessible points at which a person can work on the quality of their vessel. Because it is always present, it is always being used, and it is small enough that the changes in how it is treated can be made immediately, concretely, and without requiring any extraordinary circumstances. The first element of the ritual is the preparation of the wallet itself. Cordovero told Reb Yosef the wallet must be clean, ordered, and in good repair. Not expensive, a humble wallet is perfectly appropriate. Not new, a wallet that has accompanied a person through years of honest work carries a dignity of its own. But clean, ordered, cared for, without old receipts accumulated through months of neglect, without cards that have expired and been forgotten, without the miscellany of a life managed without attention. The reason for this, Cordovero explained, is the principle the Kabbalists called zikui haKli, the purification of the vessel. A vessel cannot receive more than its current level of purity allows. A vessel that is cluttered and disordered signals to the person who carries it, and to the invisible dimension of reality that the Kabbalists taught is always responsive to the state of our vessels, that this is not a place of care and intention, that what enters here will not be honored, and provision, the tradition teaches, flows toward the places where it is honored, and away from the places where it is received carelessly. Once a month, on the first of the Hebrew month, which the tradition calls Rosh Chodesh, the head of the new month, The wallet should be emptied completely. Every card, every piece of paper, every coin should be removed. The wallet should be cleaned, not with ritual implements, but with simple, physical care, a cloth, attention, the acknowledgement that this object matters. What has accumulated that is no longer needed should be removed and discarded. What belongs should be returned. And 3 specific items should be present when the wallet is closed again. Items that Cordovero prescribed as the permanent contents of a properly ordered spiritual wallet. The first permanent item is a small note in one's own handwriting recording the amount given to charity in the previous month. Not a wish or an intention, an actual record. This note serves as a declaration of identity. I am a person who gives. It also serves as an accountability, a record that can be honestly examined each Rosh Chodesh when the wallet is renewed. If the amount recorded is 0, or less than what the person knows they are capable of giving, the note confronts that gap with quiet, undeniable honesty. The second permanent item is a small piece of paper on which is written the Hebrew phrase, Kol mevaser, mevaser, ve omer, all who announce and say, which is associated in the Kabbalistic tradition with the announcement of good news, of redemption, of the arrival of what has been awaited. This phrase, carried inside the wallet, functions as a declaration of expectation, a statement that the person carrying it is in an orientation of anticipation toward good news rather than bracing against bad news. The distinction the tradition teaches is not merely psychological. The person whose inner posture is one of anticipation perceives opportunity that the person whose inner posture is one of bracing does not see. And what you perceive, you can act on. The third permanent item is whatever sacred text or word the person has chosen as their personal alignment, the specific phrase, letter, or verse that represents their understanding of the spiritual laws governing provision. For Reb Yosef, Cordovero prescribed the letter Shin, the first letter of Shaddai, the name of the source that said, "There is enough." For another student, it might be a verse from Psalms. For another, the number 18, the numerical value of chai, of life. What matters is not the specific text, but the intention with which it is chosen and the understanding with which it is carried. The second element of the ritual is the opening gesture. Cordovero taught that the way a person opens their wallet matters, not the physical mechanics, but the quality of awareness with which the opening is performed. Most people open their wallets in a state of complete inattention, reaching in automatically, extracting what they need, closing and moving on without any moment of conscious engagement with what they are doing. The ritual prescribes something different. When you open your wallet to give money, pause for one breath before the opening. In that breath, hold the awareness that what you are about to do is an act of provision, of money, moving from your hands toward a purpose, and that this act, however small, is a participation in the flow of provision that moves through the entire universe. The coin you are paying for a cup of coffee is, in the Kabbalistic understanding, a moment of that flow. And the person who is present to that flow, who acknowledges it, however briefly, is the person who remains connected to it. When you open your wallet to receive money, to place earnings or change or any form of provision into it, pause again. In that breath, hold gratitude. Not performed gratitude, the genuine, specific, present acknowledgement. This has arrived. The source has provided. This specific amount at this specific moment is evidence that the flow is real and that I am connected to it. These two pauses, one breath when giving, one breath when receiving, take less than 3 seconds combined. But practiced consistently over months, they transform the quality of the person's relationship with every financial transaction in their life. They make visible what ordinarily passes unseen. The constant, moment-by-moment movement of provision through the vessel of a person's daily existence. The third element is the closing blessing. When the wallet is closed at the end of each day, when the person removes it from their pocket or bag and places it somewhere at rest for the night, the tradition prescribes a single brief blessing, not a long prayer, not a formula requiring memorization, simply the honest, spoken acknowledgement of one specific thing received in the day that was an act of provision. One evidence of the source being active, named aloud, however quietly, and followed by the single word, Baruch, blessed. Cordovero told Reb Yosef, "This practice, done every evening, ensures that the day ends in a state of acknowledged provision, rather than in the unexamined accumulation of anxiety about what tomorrow might bring. And the person who closes their day with acknowledged provision is the person who opens the next day from a foundation of recognized abundance, however modest, rather than from a foundation of unacknowledged lack." The Kabbalists taught that threshold moments, dawn, dusk, the passage between waking and sleep, carry particular spiritual permeability. A word of genuine acknowledgement spoken at the threshold of sleep carries a weight that the same word spoken mid-afternoon does not. The evening blessing over the wallet is therefore not merely a gratitude practice. It is a practice of speaking into the most receptive moment of the day, seeding the night, and through the night, the next morning, with the orientation of acknowledged provision. Reb Yosef Katz performed the wallet renewal the following morning. He emptied his wallet completely, he cleaned it. He wrote his charitable giving of the previous month on a small piece of paper, and was confronted honestly and without evasion by how little it had been. He wrote the phrase and placed it inside. He wrote the letter Shin. He placed each item in the innermost part of the wallet, with full awareness of what each represented, and he closed the wallet with the intention that it was now a prepared vessel, ordered, clear, and aligned with the principles he had just been taught. He began the opening and closing gestures that same day, the one breath before giving, the one breath of gratitude before receiving, the brief evening blessing. He wrote to Cordovero 3 months later. He reported no miracle, no sudden reversal, no windfall. What he reported was different and, in its way, more significant. He wrote, "The money I earn does not feel different, but the way it moves through my hands feels completely different. I am present to it in a way I was not before. I notice things I did not notice. I make small decisions differently, with more clarity and less anxiety, and something in the household has settled, a quality of steadiness that was not there before. I believe this is what you meant when you said that the ritual would change my relationship with provision. It has changed my relationship, and I begin to believe that the provision itself, in time, will change as well." Cordovero wrote back with one line, "You have understood correctly. The vessel is the beginning. The rest follows. That is the wallet ritual of the Jewish mystical tradition. Let me give it to you now as a complete practical practice you can begin today. Once each month, empty your wallet completely, clean it. Remove everything that is expired, unnecessary, or accumulated without intention. Return only what belongs, and place inside, in the innermost compartment, 3 items written in your own hand: the record of last month's charitable giving, the phrase Kol Mevaser, Mevaser Veomer, and the sacred word or letter or verse you have chosen as your personal alignment with the source of provision. Each time you open your wallet to give, pause for one breath. Be present to the act of money moving from your hands. Each time you open your wallet to receive, pause for one breath. Acknowledge what has arrived as evidence of the flow being real. Each evening, as you set your wallet down for the night, name one specific evidence of provision from the day, however small, and speak the word Baruch. That is the whole ritual. It takes no special implements. It requires no exceptional circumstances. It asks only for attention, for intention, and for the willingness to treat the most ordinary object you carry as what it actually is, a vessel through which the provision of your life moves, and which deserves, by that fact alone, to be treated with care, with order, and with the conscious awareness of a person who understands what is passing through it. Subscribe to this channel. Each week I bring you another piece of this living and extraordinary inheritance, the wisdom of Torah, the practical teachings of the Kabbalistic masters, the ancient spiritual disciplines that have sustained Jewish families through every form of difficulty into lives of meaning, wholeness, and enduring abundance. And in the comments below, tell me, will you perform the wallet renewal this month? And what will you write on your 3 small pieces of paper? Tell me in the comments, because the act of naming your intention in public is, the tradition teaches, one of the most powerful ways of making that intention real. The wallet you carry tomorrow can carry something different. The only question is whether you are ready to prepare it. Shalom.